All right, so are you ready to dive into a world of Gothic mystery and a little bit of forbidden romance?
Always up for a good mystery.
Yeah, and this one has a lot of buzz. So we're looking at Nocticadia by Keri.
Oh, I've heard good things.
Yeah, you sent over the Goodreads page.
Right, with the book description and
a whole pile of reviews.
Yes, a lot of people are talking about this one.
They are, and we're going to try to figure out, what is it about this book?
Yeah.
What is it that's got people so hooked? And maybe whether it's something you would enjoy too.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. What I think is really fascinating about this book is how it blends all these kind of like really popular genres. It's got the whole Gothic romance thing going on. It's got the dark academia. It's got some mystery, even a little touch of horror in there.
And that seems to be like a real sweet spot for a lot of readers these days.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the setting is really key to that whole vibe. So we're talking about Dracadia University, an elite, centuries-old institution tucked away on an island off the coast of Maine. So far, pretty idyllic, right?
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. Well, the book kind of hints at a history steeped in darkness. Like, we're talking rumors that the shores of Dracadia, those beautiful white sand beaches,
Right.
are actually made of the bones of former mental patients.
Oh, okay, that got dark quickly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a real sense that there's something truly depraved, like some big secret that's waiting to be kind of unearthed.
I see.
Yeah. Okay, that's officially creepy.
Definitely creepy.
So into this very unsettling world walks our protagonist, Lilia Vespertine.
Okay.
And she's not just there for the spooky vibes, although I'm sure she's getting plenty of those.
Right.
She is driven by this personal tragedy, a mysterious illness that took her mother.
Ah, so this is personal for her.
Very personal. And so her acceptance to Dracadia isn't just, oh yeah, I got into this great school. It's very strategic. She's like, okay, this is my chance. Yeah.
To maybe uncover the truth about my mom's death and maybe find a cure. So the stakes are really high.
Wow. High stakes.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So you mentioned those rumors about Dracadia being haunted.
Right.
Well, there's also this very enigmatic professor, Deverick Bramwell, who kind of adds to that unsettling atmosphere.
Okay.
And they call him Dr. Death.
Dr. Death.
Dr. Death.
Oh.
He heads the Midnight Lab.
So a little ominous.
Yeah, a little bit. And he is an expert on a terrifying disease that is unique to this island called Noctisoma.
Noctisoma, okay.
Yeah. And Noctisoma is really at the heart of all the mystery and the horror.
I see.
We're talking hallucinations, we're talking grotesque physical symptoms, and a really gruesome death.
Oh, so that's why they call him Dr. Death.
Right. So we've got this haunted university.
Yeah.
We've got a mysterious disease. Of course, there's got to be that forbidden romance in there too.
Right, of course.
So enter the undeniable attraction between Lilia and Deverick.
Oh, so he's the love interest.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is where it gets interesting.
Even more interesting.
Even more interesting.
Oh.
Some reviewers are comparing Lilia and Deverick to bluemance.
Okay.
Which is a popular couple from another series called Zodiac Academy.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're known for this really intense, almost possessive dynamic.
Okay.
And it seems like Lake might be playing with those same tropes, but with her own kind of dark and twisty spin.
I see.
Yeah. So now I'm really curious about how that dynamic plays out.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of twists,
Yeah.
reviewers are raving about the unpredictable plot turns. Like they did not see it coming.
Okay.
Sounds like she's woven a real web of secrets and lies and just kept people guessing.
I see.
And then, of course, we can't forget the secret society at Dracadia.
Right.
Which just adds another layer of intrigue.
Right. And kind of hints at something even more sinister than what's already going on.
Right. So there's the creepy setting,
Yeah.
and then there's some secret organization behind it all.
Yeah.
Pulling this turn.
Exactly. So it's all starting to sound like a puzzle box
Uh-huh.
with secrets and danger around every corner.
Can't wait to get into this.
But let's go back to Noctisoma for a minute.
Okay.
Because the reviews, people are saying she goes into a lot of detail about it, like really describing its effect, like really gets into it.
Yeah.
Almost in a visceral way.
I see.
Right. And it's like, she doesn't shy away from the grotesque. And that seems to be part of what's making the book so captivating. Like, we are drawn to the unknown.
Yeah, it's true.
And she plays on that, like the fascination with disease and decay. It's like tapping into our primal fears almost.
I think so.
Yeah. So she's creating this atmosphere of dread and unease.
Right.
And it seems like she's doing it really well. People are using words like creepy, disturbing, but also immersive.
Okay.
And even beautifully disturbing.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't it?
Beautifully disturbing.
Yeah. So it's like a really unique blend
Yeah.
that seems to be working.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
Yeah, but it sounds like she's pulling it off.
It does sound like it. It sounds like she's created a world that is both repulsive and irresistible.
Right.
And people are just drawn to the darkness, but captivated by, the beauty of the writing and the characters.
Right. Like you don't want to look, but you can't look away kind of thing.
It's totally that. Like, can't look away from a train wreck.
Yeah, yeah.
But the train wreck is this beautifully written, intensely romantic Gothic horror novel.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
And it brings us to another really key element of Gothic fiction, and that's the setting.
Right.
Because Dracadia University itself feels like a character.
Oh.
Right, this presence that is just kind of looming over everything. It's not just a backdrop.
Right. It's like an extension of the story's darkness and all the secrets that it holds.
Right, like the setting itself is almost a character.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then within this very unsettling setting,
Yeah.
we have these complex characters
Right.
grappling with their own inner demons. And the reviewers seem particularly fascinated by Deverick.
Okay, so Dr. Death.
Dr. Death.
Yeah.
He's got that, that classic bad boy vibe.
Right.
But there's a twist. He's not just a rebel. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's powerful.
Huh.
And he is haunted by something in his past.
Okay.
So that makes him more than just your stereotypical heartthrob.
Right. He's got some depth.
He's got depth. And that seems to resonate with people. And there's a lot of discussion about his possessiveness towards Lilia. Like how he makes it very clear that she is his.
Wow. So he's possessive.
Very much so. And it's not just physically possessive. It extends to her knowledge. Like he wants to control what she knows, what she sees.
Although that's interesting. Especially about Noctisoma.
Right.
So it raises these really interesting questions for us to consider.
Yeah.
Where does protection end?
Right.
And control begin? Is possessiveness inherently unhealthy? Or can it be this, twisted expression of love?
Oh, wow. Those are really good questions.
It's like a line that she's intentionally blurring.
I see.
And challenging us to really kind of unpack that.
Right.
And it ties back to that bluemance comparison. Right? Because both couples have this really intense, almost possessive dynamic.
Right.
And it's this recurring theme. But it's not just about Deverick.
Right.
Because Lilia, despite being drawn to this dominant energy,
Right.
she is a very strong and intelligent character.
I see.
Reviewers are pointing out her determination to find her own answers, even if it means going against Deverick
Okay.
and what he wants.
She's not a pushover.
She's not at all. It creates this really fascinating power dynamic between them that kind of fuels the tension and the romance.
Right. It's like a push and pull.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got this haunted setting.
Yeah.
We've got this mysterious disease, a forbidden romance with a possessive edge,
Right.
and a whole lot of unanswered questions. So where do we go from here?
Oh, I can't wait to find out.
I know. Well, in the next part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
we're going to explore how those unanswered questions unfold.
Okay.
We'll delve a little deeper into the plot's twists and turns,
Okay.
the symbolism of Noctisoma,
Okay.
and how those reader comparisons to Blue Lance hold up as the story progresses. So stay tuned.
Can't wait.
We'll be right back to uncover more of the secrets hidden within Nocticadia.
Absolutely. One of the things that I find so interesting about this book is how Noctisoma, this disease, becomes almost like a metaphor for something deeper.
Oh, okay. I like that. Tell me more about the metaphor. Like, what do you see there?
Well, I mean, on the surface, it's this, horrifying illness.
Right.
All the hallucinations and the way people die, it's awful. But when you look closer, it's almost like it represents this darkness
Okay.
that lurks beneath the surface of this whole academic world, right?
So it's not just like a physical illness. You're talking about like a moral or societal decay kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you could even take it a step further and say, that it represents these darker impulses that we all have.
Okay.
The secrets we bury, the desires that we're trying to suppress, the things that we don't want to acknowledge.
That's a really interesting way to look at it, and it makes you wonder, like, why are we so drawn to these kind of stories? You know, these tales of disease and darkness. What is it about that we find so fascinating?
Maybe it's a way to kind of confront our fears, in a safe way.
Yeah.
Explore the taboo without actually having to experience it. Or maybe it's just a reminder that we're vulnerable, that life is fragile, and, decay is inevitable.
A lot of the reviews talk about how vividly Lake describes the effects of Noctisoma.
Yes.
Like, there's one that I was reading that said they could practically feel the revulsion.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't just tell you it's horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
She makes you experience it through her descriptions.
Right.
And that makes it so much more effective. It's not just, oh, that's gross.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is truly unsettling. This is something that's going to stay with me.
It's interesting, too, how she kind of ties the disease into the setting itself.
Yeah.
Like, you've got those rumors about the white sand beaches being made of bones.
Right.
And it's almost like the island itself is infected
Yeah.
with this darkness, and this sense of decay and death.
Right. So it's not just like a disease. It's like the place is sick.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's pervasive.
Yeah.
You can't escape it.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the bluemance comparison earlier. And I was thinking about that too, because, both couples, you've got Lilia and Deverick, and then you've got this bluemance couple. They share this really intense and almost possessive dynamic.
Right. And it
Yeah.
makes you wonder, like, what is it about that dynamic that appeals to readers?
Yeah, because Deverick is, he's obviously very protective of Lilia,
Right.
but it also feels very controlling.
Yeah.
And it's not just about keeping her safe, it's about limiting her access to information, especially when it comes to Noctisoma.
Right. And that raises all sorts of questions. Like, where does protecting someone cross the line into controlling them?
Yeah.
And is that kind of possessiveness, is that always a bad thing?
Sure.
Or can it be a form of love, even if it's twisted?
Right, and Lake seems to be playing with those boundaries, which I think is really interesting.
It is. It makes you think.
It does. There's actually a scene where Deverick takes Lilia's phone away
Oh, really?
after she uses it to record him. Well, let's just say not during a lecture.
Oh.
And it's a pretty intense moment.
Yeah.
And it highlights, I think, how much he needs to control her, not just physically, but like, her knowledge, her experiences.
Right. Like, he wants to control everything about her.
Exactly.
Wow.
And Lilia, even though she has this strong will, she seems drawn to that.
That's interesting.
It's almost like it fulfills some kind of need in her.
Yeah.
And, we know she has this difficult past. She was abandoned by her mother.
Right.
So maybe there's something there.
Maybe she's looking for that kind of strong figure in her life.
Yeah, maybe. It's definitely complex, and I think Lake explores it really well. She doesn't shy away from the darker aspects of their attraction.
Right.
And that's what makes it so compelling. It's not just a typical romance. It's really about these themes of power and control and how those things can intersect with love and obsession.
Right. And it makes you wonder, like, is this a healthy relationship? Is this something to aspire to?
Exactly. And it's not all dark and brooding either.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Lake uses humor to kind of soften Deverick a little bit.
Okay.
And a lot of the reviews mention this, his sarcastic wit,
Uh-huh.
how he throws out these one-liners that are funny but also a little bit disarming.
Yeah, it's a good way to humanize a character like that, right?
It is. It shows that there's more to him than just, the darkness and the controlling behavior.
Right. Like, he's not just a villain.
Exactly. He's a fully realized person.
Yeah.
And I think the humor also prevents him from becoming, too much of a caricature,
Right.
the one-dimensional bad boy.
Right. It gives him some depth.
It does.
Yeah.
Now, we can't forget about that secret society lurking in the background.
Right. Of course, the secret society.
Always there. They add this whole other layer to the story. It's almost like there's this shadowy force that's kind of pulling the strings and manipulating things.
Right. So they're like the puppet masters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their connection to Noctisoma, it makes you wonder if the disease is really just a natural phenomenon.
Right.
Or if it's something more sinister, like maybe it's being controlled or weaponized.
Okay. Now that's a thought.
Right. So we've got this Gothic romance. We've got this exploration of disease and decay.
Uh-huh.
And now we're adding in this conspiracy element. It's
Yeah.
like she's taken all these different genres and blended them together
Right.
to create something totally new and unexpected.
And it sounds like she's doing it really well. Like, seamlessly weaving these different elements together.
It's a page turner. That's what a lot of people are saying. Like, once you start, you can't put it down.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Good.
And I think part of that is the pacing. Like, how she builds that tension and suspense.
Right.
And you're just constantly wondering what's going to happen next.
You're on the edge of your seat.
Exactly. But it's not just about the plot and the suspense. I mean, the characters, especially Lilia and Devrick, they're so well developed. You can't help but be invested in their story, even if their relationship is a little bit, unconventional.
Right. And that's what makes a good book, right?
Yeah.
It's the characters.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From the setting to the characters to the secret society.
The secret society.
What about the reader experience?
Yeah, let's hear what people are saying.
Like, what are people saying? Let's dive into some of those reviews.
I'm ready.
All right, so let's get into these reviews and see what people are saying about Nocticadia. This one I thought was pretty great. Someone said, "I want to tattoo this book on my forehead and travel the world."
Wow, that's quite an endorsement.
It is. They really love this book. And then they went on to say, "It took me a week to get past the first 12%.
Oh, really?
But then they said, I popped off."
So it was a slow start for them.
Yeah, it sounds like it. What about you? Did you find the beginning a little slow?
I can see how some readers might. If you're looking for like a fast-paced, right out of the gate kind of story.
Right.
But I was hooked by the atmosphere.
Yeah.
How she slowly kind of reveals the secrets of the island and the people.
Yeah. Another reviewer described the atmosphere as beautifully disturbing, which I thought was pretty spot on.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's that blend of beauty and darkness.
Right.
The allure of the forbidden.
Right.
That makes Gothic romance so interesting.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the characters for a minute. So one reader said that Devrick's sarcasm had them pissing myself laughing, was the quote.
Oh my.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So what do you think about his use of humor?
I think it's brilliant. You've got this character who is so brooding and intense and possessive.
Yeah.
But then he's got this really sharp wit.
Yeah.
And it takes you by surprise, and it makes him more relatable.
It does. It definitely does.
Yeah.
And it keeps him from being like that one-dimensional, bad boy stereotype.
Right, exactly.
And speaking of complex characters, readers are loving Lilia. One person called her a feisty, precious, adorable redhead queen.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it seems like what people are really drawn to is her strength, her determination.
Yeah.
The fact that she's not afraid to stand up for herself.
Right.
Even when she's up against someone as formidable as Devrick.
Right. I mean, she's not intimidated by him,
Not at all.
which is great.
And all those bluemance comparisons,
Yeah.
like people cannot stop
Right.
talking about bluemance.
Yeah. So many people are comparing them to that other couple.
Yeah. I mean, highlighting all the similarities and their personalities and just their dynamic. One person even said that Nocticadia was like the Bluelance fanfic I never knew I needed.
Wow. High praise.
Right. So clearly those character archetypes, that possessive, protective, alpha male, and the strong-willed but also kind of vulnerable female,
Yeah.
that really resonates with people.
It does. It's a classic dynamic.
It is. And, it makes you wonder if Lake was kind of intentionally playing on those tropes, giving readers what they love,
Right.
while also putting her own spin on it.
It's a smart move.
It is. And a lot of reviewers, they're praising her ability to build that tension, create this really scorching, slow burn romance.
Right.
Like one person said, the spice OMFDS had me rolling my eyes back and fisting my sheets. It was toe curling crack fra. I'm an addict at top.
Oh my goodness.
So she's delivering.
She is.
She is bringing the heat.
Yeah, and I think, that forbidden aspect of their relationship
Yeah.
really kind of heightens everything, the power dynamic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, it's important to remember this is a dark romance.
Right.
And Lake doesn't shy away from some pretty disturbing things. I mean, one reviewer warned, this book is dark ass. There's gore, explicit detail of said gore, and a fuck of a lot of other things. Pills don't look to this book for something realistic. Well, Mo,
Yeah.
you're going to be disappointed.
It's a good reminder that this is fiction.
Right.
This is meant to be enjoyed, within the context of the genre.
Right. Right. Now, not all the reviews were positive. Some people felt like the ending was a little bit rushed, like she tried to cram too much into the last few chapters.
Yeah, I can see that. It's always tough to stick the landing,
Yeah, it is.
especially when you have a lot of loose ends to tie up.
Right. One person even said it felt kind of underwhelming after all the buildup.
Oh, that's too bad.
It is. But, even with those criticisms, most people seem to agree
Yeah,
that this is an overall, really captivating, unforgettable book.
that's good to hear.
And there's a lot of talk about a potential sequel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently focusing on Lilia's sister,
Yeah.
B. So it sounds like she kind of planted some seeds for that in the epilogue.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so readers are definitely clamoring for more.
I love that. It's always a good sign when readers want more.
It is. It is. So the final verdict. Would you recommend Nocticadia to our listener?
I think if you're looking for something light and fluffy, this is probably not the book for you.
Right.
But if you're into dark, atmospheric stories
Yeah.
with complex characters, that slow burn romance,
Yeah.
a little bit of, the macabre,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, Nocticadia might just be your next obsession.
It sounds like Lake has created this world that's both beautiful and disturbing.
It does.
And will probably stay with you long after you finish reading it.
That's the best kind of book.
It is. It is. And we've reached the end of our deep dive into Nocticadia, but that doesn't mean the exploration has to end.
Right.
The great thing about a book like this is that it sparks so many questions, so many possibilities.
It does. For me, I keep thinking about Noctisoma, the disease,
Yeah.
and how it's really a metaphor
Right.
for, all the things that we keep hidden, the secrets, the desires, the darkness inside us. It makes you think about, why are we drawn to these dark stories? What is it about that fascinates us?
Those are great questions.
Sure.
Great questions to ponder as you're, turning the pages of Nocticadia.
Right.
So we encourage you to explore this world for yourself.
Yeah.
Experience the darkness and the passion.
Absolutely.
And these unforgettable characters.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe you will find yourself wanting to tattoo this book on your forehead too.
Until next time, happy reading.